To this day, not much is known about the events from Breath of the Wild that transpired 10,000 years ago. The history of the royal family is the same as that of Calamity Ganon, all thanks to the curse put on the hero in Skyward Sword. Most of the information is from Impa from Kakariko Village, with other bits and pieces scattered all across the land. Cass spends most of the game in search of the ancient hero songs, and the relics dating back to this time period still stand, though the passage of time is clearly visible on these ruins. One thing we do know is that the battle against Calamity Ganon thousands of years ago was fought alongside the Guardians and Divine Beasts, technology that was created by the Sheikah tribe, but this power was so great that the royal family grew to fear the Sheikah and hid the machines away. Most agreed to abandon their technological advancements and live peaceful lives in Kakariko Village. However, others grew to hate the royal family and side with Ganon. Many years later, a prophecy led to large-scale excavations in an attempt to locate these machines to use against Ganon. But when playing this game for the 13,293rd time, I started to question, where exactly were these buried? Not the guardians or shrines, since they are literally everywhere. What about the divine beasts? Today, I'm going to tackle this mystery with fellow YouTuber MaskedNintendoBandit. It should be a fun ride.
In the events of Breath of the Wild, you're tasked with freeing the 4 divine beasts, Medoh, Naboris, Ruta, and Rudania, who were all piloted by Revali, Urbosa, Mipha, and Daruk respectively. We're excluding the final trial since we already know that it's beneath the Great Plateau. By the time you leave the Shrine of Resurrection, these machines have been roaming Hyrule for a century, so the player never gets to see where they were discovered. With that said, can we pinpoint locations of interest that may have been the burial sites of these mechanical titans? Let's start with Naboris, since it's the easiest one to track. It's the only divine beast we can directly see being excavated from Roam's cutscene. The two most important details are the texture of the rocky cliffs and the scaffolding present. It's clear that this area is somewhere within the Garuda region, and while the area is massive, we can ignore the desert since it's a barren wasteland with minimal landforms. But if we make our way down through the Gerudo Canyon Pass, you can find the same scaffolding all across the cliffside. The section worth noting is beside the Ji-No Shrine, as this part of the cliff has mysteriously collapsed. This is exactly what we see in the cutscene. There's a sudden quake which reveals a part of Naboris' head. If we added some extra platforms to connect the scaffolding on the right and left, it would match what is seen from the cutscene perfectly. In addition, this is the only part of the cliff that has collapsed, and this is after looking through the whole canyon. Creating a champion marks it as somewhere to the upper left of the Gerudo Tower. However, there is no other area that fits the criteria of Roam's cutscene.
Unfortunately, this is the point where things get more complicated. We don't have any cutscenes to use as a reference for the other 3, but there are subtle details which can give us a general idea of where they would be found. The next best one to talk about is Vah Ruta. If we look at areas on the map, there's one location that sticks out and would be a perfect hiding spot for this divine beast. And it's not in Lanayru, but the region of Akkala. The Ulria Grotto, which sits right behind Polymus Mountain. It sort of resembles a quarry, with its deep pit reaching all the way down, being partially filled with water, no doubt because of the rainfall these past several years. Bits of ore and luminous stones can be located, and the place is littered with different kinds of boulders, along with some sledgehammers. There's more than enough room needed to hide a divine beast, and that's why this is where I thought Ruta was buried. But both the game and creating a champion tell us a different story. In one of the Zora monuments, King Dorephan recalls the day that Mipha hurried to see the divine beast, and he says the following: "When the divine beast Vah Ruta was first discovered at Zora's domain, my daughter Mipha hurried to see it." We can find something similar in the Zora Princess's diary. Mipha states that a divine beast had been excavated from Zora's domain. In the previous entry, she mentions how outsiders met the Zora at their domain, which is the same time Mipha encountered Link. This meeting was at the request of the king, so they were most likely there to start the excavation of Ruta. All of Zora's domain is elevated over the water, so the divine beast could have been found somewhere below. But Ruta is massive, so it seems unlikely that it was found right under the Zora structure. One possibility is that the divine beast was found very close to the domain, perhaps Ruto Lake, which is right under the Great Zora Bridge. After all, Vah Ruta was named after this water sage, so it may have been called Ruto Lake because the divine beast was found there.
Similar to Ruta, information on divine beast Vah Rudania's burial site can be found in Daruk's training journal. The Goron champion states that the Sheikah had traveled to Death Mountain to dig up the divine beast. It's not very specific since around a third of this landmass takes up the Elden region. If they were going for full secrecy, the most logical hiding spot would be inside of Death Mountain itself. However, the Sheikah purposefully left records in case a future generation needed them, and they were the ones who would go and dig the ancient technology back up. With this in mind, would they really hide Rudania in a place so dangerous? Remember that it wasn't Gorons who dealt with the excavation, but the Sheikah. It's true that the existence of both special armor and elixirs would make this feat possible, but if the Sheikah really did excavate Rudania from within the volcano, it would have been extremely dangerous. The divine beast may have been concealed somewhere along the perimeter of the volcano. The Death Caldera is certainly big enough to hide a machine like Rudania. Pretty much anywhere with lakes of lava or rocky formations could be excavation sites. But the hardest divine beast to track is, without a doubt, the one piloted by the Rito, divine beast Vah Medoh. Tabantha has two areas that may have been the excavation sites of this ancient relic. Since Ruta was supposedly found in Zora's domain, there's a good chance that Medoh was dug up from the body of water surrounding Rito village. Unlike the Zora and Goron champions, Revali doesn't mention where the divine beast was found in his journal, unfortunately. But there's more than enough space within Lake Totori to hide Medoh, therefore the lake may have been the excavation site. Another location of massive size is the Tanagar Canyon, spanning from Himar's descent all the way to the Forgotten Temple. And one of the DLC shrines is found here once you shoot Dinral's horn in Revali's part of the Champion's Ballad quest.
And then there's the entire region of Hebra. Seriously, there are so many spots for them to bury Medoh, though I will go over some of the important ones. While Hebra is a completely different region, one of Revali's quests is in this area. Plus, the player also has to go to the flight range during the Divine Beast quest. So I'd argue that this area is also connected to Medoh. But where exactly does one hide a Divine Beast? The Cold Snap Hollow is an underground-ish area that resembles a collapsed cavern. There's also a lake close to the flight range that is certainly big enough to hide Medoh, though my favorite spot is the Paquita Stone Grove. It's similar to the Cold Snap Hollow, but a lot more spacious. Once again, it looks like a massive cavern that was caved in for some unexplained reason. And when you think about it, this being the location of Medoh would make sense. Remember that in Rome's cutscene, there was a massive tremor that caused a part of the cliff to collapse, revealing Naboris. Now imagine if this same quake was what made the Paquita Stone Grove cave in. Perhaps the Sheikah were investigating Hebra only to find a cave with Medoh inside it, and all thanks to a sudden earth tremor. It would be interesting if this tremor happened all across Hyrule and was the cause of finding not only Naboris, but all 4 of the Divine Beasts. Though that's just a random thought, and it's possible that the cave-in was a result of the Great Calamity instead.
So, to recap, divine beast Vah Naboris was found in the Gerudo Canyon. Ruta was somewhere in or close to Zora's domain. Rudania was found within the proximity of Death Mountain, maybe even inside of the volcano itself, and Medoh might have been buried in either Tabantha or Hebra. The most possible locations are Lake Totori surrounding Rito Village, Tanaga Canyon, Lake Kilzi, or the Paquita Stone Grove. In the end, it is a subjective topic, but given the little information, these seem to be some of the best possibilities.
Since this video can't be as conclusive as some of my others, I'm interested in hearing your thoughts down in the comments. Where do you guys think the Divine Beasts were buried? I'm looking forward to hearing what you have to say, and thanks to MaskedNintendoBandit for joining me on the smaller theory. There's a video on his channel where we discuss the possibility of Hyrule Castle being a Divine Beast, so feel free to check that out. A link will be in the description and at the end of this video. Thanks for watching as always, and I'll see you guys later. Now we wait and hope for more Breath of the Wild 2 news at the Game Awards.